Hello, and thanks for joining us on WrestleCenter here at Graps TV. And this is our very first interview under this banner. And I couldn't think of a better person to start with than your 2025 North Wrestling NCL Cup winner. That's right. Today's show, I have the one, the only Kemper with us. I do have one or two little minor audio glitches in here, and they were irrecoverable, and I do apologize up front. But they don't damage the rest of the interview, and parts of this, to begin with, to be honest with you, I just did not want to get rid of. So here we go. We're going to kick in right now with our interview section. First ever with the one, the only, your 2025 NCL Cup winner from North Wrestling, the one, the only, Kemper.
Here with the one and only, often imitated, never duplicated, fully stated, your 2025 NCL Cup winner, Kemper.
Thanks for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, sir. I hope you're having a good day. Realize you just got done with a workout. How you feeling?
I did. I'm having a good day, actually. It's a rare weekend of not a lot of wrestling. I was wrestling last night on Friday, but actually Saturday, Sunday, I'm just chilling. So just been to the gym, got some more gym stuff to do tomorrow, and a bit of relaxing. It's nice to have some downtime.
Absolutely. Downtime. What did you do? Because I have seen a lot of your work here recently, even before the North Cup. I gotta say, of all the things that I've seen so far in tournament wrestling, I have never seen anything quite like the performance you put on with the cup itself. But before we even get into that, talk to the people, tell them about yourself, because people on my side of the pond here, they don't know that much about British wrestling, and I want them to get to know you.
Thank you. So, yeah, absolutely. So my kind of wrestling career started in 2019. I started training with Marty Jones at the Squared Circle Academy. So Marty was huge in World of Sport back when it was like prime time television in England in the 70s, 80s, 90s and onwards. Unfortunately, British wrestling kind of quietened down after that period. So by the time that WWF, WWE was big, things weren't as big in England. And that kind of became the main outlet for wrestling. People would watch the American style rather than the British stuff. But British wrestling's still been going on. And I trained with Marty. He's a multiple-time world champion. He's wrestled people like Hulk Hogan in Japan, and like he's really done some stuff. So I trained with him for the first 2 years of my career. And then after that, I moved over and started training with PPW. So I trained at Pursuit Pro Wrestling with Liam Slater. So Liam and Nathan Black run that particular training academy. And yeah, since then I've kind of gone from strength to strength. Marty's style was a lot more like old school, a lot of grappling, a lot of holds, a lot of kind of just see how you go, wrestle on the fly, less planning, just in the moment wrestling. And then that's blended nicely with what we have at PPW, which is more of the modern style, where it's a bit more athletic and there's a bit more like sequencing to things, and it's been a good mix of stuff. But yeah, unfortunately, I did my first maybe 2 or 3 shows, and then the world shut down because of coronavirus. So that was a unfortunate kind of blocker on my career. But then once we got back and going again, I've kind of been training and wrestling ever since. And the last couple of years has been phenomenal, really, in terms of getting out into shows and getting where I want to be and getting my face seen by the right people.
Absolutely, absolutely. One of the things that a lot of people don't understand when it comes to tournament wrestling, and as well as just regular catch as catch can, there's a lot of preparation that goes into, and the mentality for, and the psychology for, what goes into something like this. When you know for sure you've been picked, Bowers taps you on the shoulder and says you're in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? what goes through your mind? How do you start preparing, knowing good and well you could very well have 3 matches. You could have you could have easily 30 minutes and more, depending on how they play out, because as these things go on, you and I both know stamina becomes an issue and so on and so forth. What goes through your mind when you're prepping for this?
So I found out that I was going to be in and winning quite early on. So it was maybe 2 months ago.
Right.
And, the initial conversation, I just came out of it like super happy, because to me, this is the biggest thing I've done. It's the most important thing I've done. And I was really pleased that like Bowers and everyone that's behind the scenes at North trusted in me to be in that position. And it was just joy at that particular point in time. And then as we got closer to things, sort of the week leading up to the Cup, I was like, okay, I need to really think about what this is going to be. And I didn't necessarily know my opponents until quite close. It was maybe like 3 days out, because some people had to leave the tournament. Things had moved around, so I didn't know exactly what I was doing until probably about Wednesday, Thursday before the show on Saturday. But I knew that I was at that point going to be facing Aigle LeBlanc, Big Damo, and Henry Faust. So I've worked with Henry multiple times in North now, and I know exactly how good Big Damo is, because he's been in WWE for such a long time. Aigle is one of the biggest names in Europe. He's going to be in WWE before you know it. He's just so good. So I knew that whilst there was pressure, I was working with such a good caliber of wrestlers that it kind of takes the pressure away. What did catch me a little bit off guard was that we were doing some like full length matches. So if you look at the tournaments from the last 2 iterations, some people have like a 5-minute match or even less, because they have some kind of shenanigans, some kind of like different ways that they win or lose. My matches were all 10 plus minutes.
Yes.
And I was like, okay, now I need to really zone in, because that's a lot of stuff to remember and a lot of like planning and things like that. So I'd never worked with Damo before. I'd worked extremely briefly with Aigler last year, because he wrestled Miles and I interfered to kind of take him out so that Miles would win the final. So I hadn't really worked with either of these guys. I obviously went away and looked at how some of them recent matches were, so I could kind of think of it. Maybe this will work, maybe that'll work. Like I say, fortunately, I've worked with Henry, so I knew going into the main event, which would be the longer match, we already knew each other's stuff, so it wasn't completely out of the blue. We've got a little bit of chemistry already. But when it came down to it on the day, I got there super early, so I had plenty of time to think about things. I was able to talk to Aigler for a long time, and we had probably that was arguably the most complicated match for me, because that was the most kind of indie type match I've probably ever done, where it's like lots of spots and high flying and all this kind of stuff. And really a lot of that was to make Aigler look good, because he was having one match and then he was done. So like it would be kind of not cool for him to come in from France, do this show, and then like he gets to show nothing. Like we need to use him and let the fans appreciate how good he actually is. So my instruction, my mindset, which I was absolutely happy with, was make sure he looks good, but then when I win, it makes me look good. So it's a two-way street. Everybody wins. So I was like, cool. That match was, like I say, probably the most complicated to plan. So I spent the most time talking to him. Not that it was super insane by any stretch of the imagination, but it's just not how I would normally work. I would say I'm stylistically a WWE style wrestler rather than like an AEW style wrestler, where it's a bit more fast paced and a bit more, intense in the ring. My style is a bit more along the lines of storytelling, slowness, and picking your moments. Not to say that Aigler can't do those things, absolutely not at all. But he is currently one of the best indie guys going, so he is very good at that. So I was like, let's show him off, and that's what we did. So I managed to get all that stuff in. He seemed pretty happy with it. I was super happy with it. It made me really confident that I could have these kind of matches with anyone in the country, anyone in the world, really. because, like I say, he's one of the best, and I managed to hang in there, and I don't feel like I was ever out of position or didn't look like I belonged. I felt like we did a real good job. So, like, I hadn't really spoken to Damo at all up until the point that we finished that match, because I kind of met him on the day. He had a match as well, don't forget. So he just said to me, look, let's catch up after our first round matches, because we've both got stuff to think about. Don't want to like overcomplicate things. And the match that we were always going to have was always going to be more big man WWE style. So it's not super complicated. So there's no reason to get too much in your brain all at the beginning of the day and then just get too worried about things. So I was like, okay, that's cool. And that's what we did. So we finished up with our first round matches. I managed to catch him, and then he's just the best. He's such a nice guy. It was an absolute dream to work with him. One of the best heavyweights in the world, and we're such a place now where there's just not a lot of heavyweight wrestlers. That whenever I get to wrestle one, it's really useful, especially if they're of this kind of experience level and they've had this kind of level of work. It's super beneficial to me, because I'm wrestling guys that are really good, but in the UK, like, I can name like 2 or 3 people that are taller than me that are active on the scene. Other than that, like, it's even like that. You look at the other heavyweights we have in North, and they're phenomenal. Like, we'll get to it, but like Will Cruz and Rampage Brown are a tag team, and we'll be coming up against them, Miles and I. They're both phenomenal wrestlers and great guys. I love them both. But I'm way taller than both of them. Like, it's just one of those things where you don't get opportunities to work with heavyweights that often. So I'm looking forward to working with them as much as I was with Damo. And we just, like I say, we just kind of told a typical big man match with, like, I think I'm the biggest, he thinks he's the biggest. Eventually he puts me down, and then I managed to catch him. And from that moment on, I was babyface. I'd come into the day as being like kind of heely, tweenery, because I'm with Miles, and Miles is big time heel, and there's the tension between us, and that's the story that we're telling. That he's kind of manipulating me, and I see through it, but I just let it slide, and then see how things go, and then kind of use it to my advantage as much as he's using me for his advantage. So it's kind of a mutually beneficial scenario, even though everyone can see that he's a bit of a dick, if I can swear.
Absolutely, yeah. It's open forum. Say what you want.
Yeah, he's not a popular man when it comes to Anarchy Brewery. He's very much booed out of the building before he's even opened his mouth. So being aligned with him and being with that bit of tension, the crowd's very against him and kind of against me, but they're slowly kind of seeing that maybe I'm not as bad as things seem. So when I had the match with Eagle in round 1, it was kind of, I'm the heel, he's the face. Eagle looks great. I come out of it, and I got kind of I've been calling it like an appreciative round of applause. Like, the crowd was like, "Oh yeah, that was pretty good."
Yes, it was.
Thank you. So coming into the match with Damo had been heel in the first round, and I was kind of also still heel. So when we come into this match, it's just cool to see 2 big men that are like at a good level wrestling. So the crowd immediately gets behind that. And like I say, when he hits me with a crossbody, it puts me down. And the second time I catch him, it just turned me like that. Like, the crowd were like, "We don't care anymore. We like this guy." Like, they just started cheering for me. And I was like, this is so cool. And it was funny. I was like talking to Damo backstage. Maybe I'm kind of peeling the curtain back a bit too far here, but he said, "Oh, like, I'm a pretty heavy guy. Like, I'll post here. Like, if you just put your arms in this position." I was like, "Damo, don't worry. I know full well that this will be fine, because big guys know how to post, and little guys just don't think about it sometimes because they're so small. They think that I'll just get thrown around. Whereas big guys, like, if I get dropped, I'm going to get really hurt. So I'll make sure that I help you as much as I can." So he's on me, and I'm like, "Oh, this was easy." And then we just go up and down with a big body slam, and the crowd just loved it. I was like, "Okay, we've got him now. Like, we're cooking." And then from that point,
you definitely broke the house when you did that. You broke the house. The guys I had in the chat with me, they popped. People were popping for that. They really were. The pop was just outstanding on that. And that was when I really discovered who you were in that moment. Because, see, as an analyst of this, when I'm talking, when I'm talking to people, explaining to them so they don't get lost, those are the key moments I look for as well. And when that happened, I'm like, no, this match is going to be smooth. But go ahead. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to jump in like that.
No, absolutely. This is dialogue, so absolutely feel free to say anything. And apologies if I'm rambling on too much.
No. Go ahead.
Well, I'm a little ADHD, but we'll we'll let it slide. So yeah, I hit the slam on him. The card comes up for me, and then we have a few more back and forth moments. He manages to get a bit of an up on me, goes up for the superplex. He goes up for something. I catch him into the superplex, and even as he goes up for that, the crowd are just like chanting "Kemper, Kemper," which is super cool. And really, I probably should have acknowledged that a bit more, but because in my mind I was like, I'm the bad guy, I was kind of zoned into him. But really, I probably should have been like, yeah, like let's go, like fire up a bit. But like it still worked, and we hit the big superplex, and then the big choke slam, and he got right up for me as well. So that was amazing.
Yes.
And that one thing in terms of like the tournament kind of psychology that you mentioned. So in the first round, Egler hits me with a big 450 off the top rope.
Mm-hmm.
Second round, Damos hit me with a huge crossbody. So coming into the final match, my midsection's taken a real beating, and I'm trying to basically show that it's not 100%. As I come through the curtain, I'm holding my kind of ribs and stomach.
Right.
And the times that Henry's able to fight back and get the better of me, he's targeting that area because it's taken such a beating. And it just felt like it kind of made sense. And also a lot of his kind of structure is kicks to like the chest and torso area. So
Right.
it just worked really well. And that's kind of how we like try to plan things. So I'd spoken to Henry earlier in the day, and we kind of thought, here's a couple of cool spots, and then we'll come back to this after we've had our other matches. So we didn't want to, again, forget or plan too much too early on. So we had our matches, and then that was probably the most stressful time because there was maybe 25 minutes between my match with Damo and the main event, something like that. So in terms of like physical well-being and stuff, I felt okay. But I was a little stressed at that point. I was like, okay, now we need to like really like tear the house down. Like, this is the main event. Neither of us have ever been in the main event at North. It's a huge deal for both of us.
Right.
I absolutely love North. It's my favorite place to work. It's done so much for me in my career. I'm super appreciative of being in that position, as I said earlier. So I was like, this needs to be good. So that was a bit more pressure at that point. But I knew that the crowd absolutely loved Henry. They were making noise for me, whether it was good or bad. They were making a lot of noise. So I was confident that we'd be able to have a good match, and I think that we did. And then, yeah, we kind of just threw it together there. We were like, okay, this will work, that'll work, and then went out and did it. And then obviously afterwards we have the piece with me and Miles. And I think that even elevated it again, where the crowd were kind of desperate for me to kill Miles, basically, because he's come out and taken all my glory away.
Guilty.
He's kind of putting it all into himself, and I was kind of playing into it a bit more. Like, we've had this tension in every single show. It's just a bit more and a bit more and a bit more. And then he stood. It doesn't come off as much on the live stream, so I'm hoping that when we get the edited version, you'll perhaps see it a bit more. But when he takes the cup off me and he goes up on the corners and he goes on the first one and then he goes to the second one, the crowd see me stood behind him, and I start to kind of tense my fist and screw my face up, and they're just like, oh my God, Kemper's going to kill him. And they're like going like, kill him, kill him, kill him. But the camera's like focusing up at Miles, and then you just kind of get a brief second of me stood behind, and you can see them like desperate for me to murder him. But you know, we have to kind of like, we're a team. We have to play it cool. We have to see what comes next, and what's next is those tag belts. That's what we want. Me and Miles against Rampage and Will, and I'm super excited for that because, like I say, these guys are so good. They're two good friends of mine outside the ring. I see Will all the time. He's at PPW. He's one of the regulars. Rampage has been like, he's not my regular trainer, but I've done quite a lot of seminars with him and stuff like that. We're both from the same area of the country in Leeds, so we have a lot in common. And he's just a great guy. So I'm as well as he's been in WWE himself for quite a decent period. So he's one of the most respected heavyweights easily in Europe, and it's a huge honor to face them. And I'm very, very much looking forward to it.
Ooh, and to be honest with you, that's one of the matches I'm looking forward to as well. Do we have a solid on when that's going to happen?
I don't know 100%. I believe it's going to be the next show.
Okay.
So I believe it is, what are we now? The start of March, it'll be the start of April the 5th, I think it is.
April 5th. Yes.
Saturday, April 5th, North Wrestling will be back at Anarchy Brew Company for Monumental. Tune in, don't miss it.
Let's talk about you and Miles Kamen for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Let's talk about that dynamic.
Okay.
Because you are, in my estimation, and you can stop me if I'm wrong, you are sort of not necessarily tweening babyface on this. You're almost there. You're almost face all the way over. And obviously, like you said earlier, Miles Kamen is a dick. I mean, it just is. That's his personality. It's how he comes across. And you know what? For what it's worth, sells it like a champ. You sell it like a champ, too. And what's it going to take? What's it going to take to pull all of that out, to pull that out?
To have things implode, you mean? Or
yes. What's it going to take to finally get you to? I'm in. I'm done.
So it's interesting. So Miles and we go back quite a while. So when I was training back in 2019, I did a 5-day training seminar with Rampage Brown, which was kind of very uncommon thing in the UK to have like a long seminar like that. Normally seminars just like 2 hours, maybe 3-4 hours. This was 5 days in a row. It was a full week, pretty much, of wrestling, a working week. And Miles was on that same thing as me. So that was kind of the first time we'd come across each other. And I could tell instantly that he was very good. And I was, at that point, not very good because I'd been wrestling for like maybe 6 months. So, yeah, we were definitely in different parts of our wrestling career, but that's kind of the first time we crossed paths. And then we didn't really interact a whole lot more until probably realistically the first time I came into North. So I did a pre-show match at North, so that they have pre-show matches before the main show kicks off. These usually will go onto YouTube. Possibly they might be on the Patreon, but they're not normally included in part of the whole show. It's kind of a separate thing. And what those matches are is sometimes it's just kind of something to get the crowd up and going. Sometimes it's a bit of a trial to say, hey, let's see if these guys are any good. And then if they are any good, we'll get them onto the main card and we'll give them another chance. So that was what it was for me. And I remember at the time that this has all come to fruition really through the work of Liam Slater, because he's my coach now and has been for the last like 3 years. He has been instrumental in kind of all of my achievements, and he's someone that doesn't, I think, like receiving compliments. So they're probably like almost not appreciate me saying this, whereas I like can't help it, but like explicitly like go over like how much of a big deal like Liam and Nathan have been for my progression recently. Liam is very close with North. He was their champion for a long time. He's obviously now aligned with Leon in the main event scene with the title there. And Leon's another kind of I wouldn't say he's a product of Liam because that's unfair to Leon, because Leon's got like his own thing as well. But Liam has helped Leon a lot. And I feel like he's helped me a lot as well. And because he had such a strong connection at North, he kind of said to Bowers, you should have a look at this guy. You know, I think he's pretty good and he could be something on the show. And I remember when he told me that, and I was like, Liam, what are you talking about? Like, North's like up here, and I'm like, I'm not there yet. And he's like, no, like you are. And I was like, okay. And I didn't really think anything of it. And then 2 or 3 months later, there I was on the pre-show, and it was me against Jay Vertigo, and it just went amazing. We kind of went into it with, we were basically told, don't worry about psychology, just go and impress us as much as you can. I was like, fine, no worries. We'll do all our best moves and just see how it goes. And when we finished, I got backstage and Bowers was like, "That's one of the best pre-show matches we've ever had," which is amazing. And like credit to Jay as well, because Jay was as much a part of that as I was. I feel bad for Jay in a sense because there's, like I said, there's so few heavyweights that when I get in somewhere, I usually stay there. And Jay's not had as many chances as me because he's not a heavyweight. He's a very good wrestler, but he's not been a heavyweight. So he's been on North again, but not as much as I have, which is unfortunate, but I'm sure he will get his chance. But at that show, Miles was there. And at the time, he was teaming with a guy called Vusic. So that had been going on for a while, but it wasn't really kind of built into any major story or anything at that point. It was maybe something out of more convenience, or like they had some ideas, but they weren't sure where they were going with it. And Miles watched my match from the back and immediately pitched to Bowers and to everyone else kind of involved, to like Liam and Rory Coyle and other people, to say, look, put me and Kemper together. And when I came back, he came more up to me and told me. And we hadn't really spoken much since that seminar 5 years ago. So it wasn't like we were like best mates and he was like, oh, I'm trying to work with my friend or anything like that. He was like, there's something here and we can use it. And I was like, Miles is great. So absolutely put me with Miles. Bowers loved it. I loved it. Miles was obviously the one that pitched it. So we're kind of all on board straight away. And it's worked amazingly. So it's kind of the initial thing was that we had a fatal four-way match. It was me, Henry Faust, Miles, and Hardman Dan. And that was kind of the first time we crossed paths within a North ring. And then following that, we ended up being aligned. And things have just kind of gone from strength to strength. Like Miles had an amazing year last year. And I knew that being with him and him getting into those levels of like main event kind of matches, wrestling people like Egg LeBlanc and Mike D and having these really incredible matches would elevate him, and then by proxy it elevates me because I'm attached to that. And then this year I'm getting a chance to kind of show that I can hang at those levels as well. So it's kind of worked really well for both of us. And obviously since then we have spent more time together. We have become actual friends and stuff. So it's been a very good pairing, and like credit to Miles. We literally were saying as we were leaving the cup just the other day, had that not been pitched, like maybe both of us would just be kind of in and out of North. We'd be doing like a match here, a match there, and nothing really concrete. Whereas now we're on every show. We're like one of the main stories. I'm not saying we're like ahead of Leon or anything like that, because we're absolutely not. But we're a consistent storyline, and that's what you need. You need a reason to be there and a reason for the fans to be invested. And we've had that now for over a year, so it's been really beneficial for both of us.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more on that at all, because like I said, and to be real, if I'm being real about the whole thing, during the actual show itself, there were certain parts of it where I was actually fighting back tears. So it really moved on an emotional level, which is what I look for in a lot of shows. And I get that from all the promotions that I actually cover. I don't cover them if I don't feel them. Yeah. So, I mean, and to be honest with you, I think you could work either style as well. It looks really good. You look good both ways. Like you said, with Blanc, you work that one. And Blanc is more of that style, and you're more of WWE style. And I thought they blended really well. And that is the mark of a good athlete, a good wrestler, is if you can wrestle more than one style. These are the wrestlers I look out for, the ones that can actually work more than one style. If you can do that, you're made. I mean, in my estimation, you're made. You've got the talent, you've got the gear, you've got the skill, you've got the look, you've got the walk, and you've got the talk. And on top of all that, you can put a broomstick over. I'm good. You know, that's the way I phrase it. That's my phrase right there. You know, if you can put a broomstick over, you're good, and you are good. So I will say that.
Very appreciative.
Tell people, no problem at all. Tell the people what you got coming up here.
So, as I say, we've got the next North show in April, so I'm looking forward to that. I'm thinking it's going to be the tag match for the belts, but that's yet to be 100% confirmed, but it seems like that is going to be the thing. Aside from that, so there's a big show coming up for Atomic, who are a wrestling company in Liverpool. They actually also run in a brewery, weirdly, as a weird coincidence. And they're doing one of their first shows outside of that venue. And it's a much bigger venue, still in Liverpool City Centre, so really close to where Atomic is, but it's a bigger place to get a lot more people in. That's a place called Content. So we're hoping to get a lot of people through the door there. I'm going to be on that show. Aside from that, I've got a few bits and pieces coming up, so I'll be wrestling at True Grit again soon. That's one that runs in Leeds and York primarily. So I'm from Leeds, and York's also somewhere where I used to live, so it's super close by. I'm actually going to be wrestling in a cage match for the title. So that's the first time I've done anything kind of like that before. So that's super cool. I'll be wrestling Brady Phillips, and that is going to be in Leeds in 2 months' time. So I'll be in May, because there is a show in April. But during April, I am going to Vegas for WrestleMania. So also, I'm going to the show itself. I'm actually going with Miles and a couple of our friends. But I'm actually going to be doing a couple of shows over there as well. So what we have confirmed at the moment is a show called World's Greatest Wrestling. And it's going to be myself versus Steve Bovey, Tim Strange, and Big Joe. So that's going to be fun. And I also have another one which hasn't been announced yet, so I'm going to keep it under wraps, but it's for the week prior to WrestleMania week. So that's cool. And then I'm just going to see kind of how things go and just present myself, and like, if anyone needs a big guy, I'll be there. If anyone needs someone that looks the business, I'll be there.
Absolutely. Well, I just want you to know that I do appreciate your time. I know your time's valuable. Time is money, the way I look at it. And if you could talk to anybody right now, if you could sell yourself, what would you tell them?
And this kind of goes back to what I said immediately post the NCL Cup. So I don't know if anyone watching this will have seen that promo, but I left the match, and Miles had a lot to say. I took the cup from him and said, look, people didn't want me to win that. People didn't expect me to win that. I expected to win that because I have ultimately unwavering self-belief. I know that I can do this. I know that I'm bigger than the vast majority. I'm stronger. I'm faster. I'm more athletic. I have the charisma. I have the looks. Like, I am the total package, really.
Yes.
So, and that's not to say I'm the finished article. I'm a coachable and adapting wrestler, and I'm still learning. I wrestled in Mexico, took things from there. I wrestled around Europe, I take things from there. Now I'm wrestling in the US, so I'll take things from there as well. But I fully believe in myself as being one of the current best heavyweights in Europe. And in terms of like overall potential, there's not a lot of people that I put higher than me. You've maybe got Leon, and that might be it, because Leon's like on another stratosphere. But in terms of the overall package, there's really not a lot of people that can touch what I'm doing. And again, like, people won't like to hear that, because I know that there's people that are higher up the scene than me now. But that's now. That's not forever.
Correct. That is correct. And we talked about this off camera, and I'm just going to go ahead and put it on camera and put it on record as well. And you can attest, I did tell you this before we started shooting. I think personally, based on everything that I have watched, and this is a compliment obviously coming. There's a compliment coming. So if I were to compare you to anyone that I have seen anywhere, and I've been doing this for roughly about 50 years, I would put you on the same stratosphere as the beginning, if not mid-range, Drew McIntyre career. And you walk, talk, carry yourself just as well. But I'm going to throw a little bit of extra in here that I didn't tell you, because I wanted to get your reaction to it as well. I think you got a little Brody in you. I think you got a little Brody King, and I think you got a little Bruiser Brody as well. Bruiser Brody. And I grew up, I saw first Bruiser Brody match I saw, Bruiser Brody, Big Red. You now know him as The Undertaker. I think you've got it all. I think you are the total package, and I do, beyond a shadow of a doubt, appreciate your time in this interview. And we're going to let you go now, and I do appreciate that as well. Is there anything else you want to say?
Hey, look, thank you. I'll say thank you for that amazing compliment. Thank you for your time as well. And for everyone watching, like, you'll see me on TV before too long. I'm already on Extreme channel in the UK, but you'll see me in some big primetime spots before you know it.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like I told you also off camera, I do believe it's not very long before the world does come calling for you. And I do believe this trip to Vegas and this trip for WrestleMania weekend is going to be your exhibition party. I don't like to use the words coming out because that means something over here. It's going to be your exhibition period. I think this is going to be your time to shine. It is absolutely no doubt in my mind. This is Kemper's moment to take.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I'm fully on board. Like, the self-belief is truly there. So I'll do
Absolutely.
you all proud.
Absolutely, and I do appreciate it. I'm going to be looking forward to covering each and every bit of that. But for right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to let Mr. Kemper go and enjoy the rest of his day. And I just want to thank the rest of y'all for tuning in here. Graps TV, these are our interview sessions. So I would like to let you know right away, this has been my pleasure to have Mr. Kemper aboard. And we'd like to just simply say good luck, good night, and God bless everybody. Take care.